Kisses and Thai Noodle Leftovers by Adriana in the Snow. This is the 6th part of the Cuffed Universe. You can expect more Cuffed Universe soon. The rating for this fic is teen and up. No archive warnings apply. Relationships are Virgil/Logan, Virgil/Remus/Logan. Additional tags. In true analogical is the universe, but Remus doesn't appear in this fic. Implied/referenced sexual assault. Implied/referenced sexual abuse. Summary. Logan receives his first kiss. This takes place before tea, cookies, and handcuffs. Notes. Virgil and Logan are kissing friends. It's not quite a romantic relationship yet. I'm not 100% sure what it is. Logan had been contemplating getting up from the couch, turning off the small television he wasn't truly watching, and going to bed when Virgil returned to their apartment for the night. Logan had been living with the man for almost a year now, and couldn't help but feel a flicker of affection for him as the man struggled to pull off his shoes. "I believe those are meant to be untied before you attempt to take them off," he commented. Virgil promptly flipped him off, got distracted, and almost fell. Logan chuckled lightly. "Bad day?" he asked, as Virgil finally managed to divest himself of his shoes. Virgil grunted in response and walked over to flop onto the couch. He seemed unconcerned with the fact that Logan was already laying there himself. "I see," Logan said evenly, as Virgil nuzzled his face into Logan's neck. He made a grumbling sound that vibrated through Logan's own chest. This was by far not the first time they'd been in such a position. Virgil was very much not averse to touching, and once they'd begun to bond, he'd slowly introduce touch into their everyday lives. When Logan had never protested the little touches, Virgil had moved on to treating Logan like furniture when the actual furniture was already in use. It was nice, Logan had decided. While he had never been a particularly tactile person himself, he'd grown up in a household where physical affection was abundant. Logan hadn't realized he'd missed such things until his roommates started to slowly fill in that hole in Logan's chest with casual touches. "I hate the call center," Virgil finally said after a few minutes of laying limply on top of Logan. "I don't even like calling people for myself. It's torture." Logan lightly laid a hand on the back of Virgil's head. He gently raked his fingers through his hair. "You should quit," Logan suggested. Virgil's humorless laugh tickled at the side of Logan's neck. "What, and not be able to pay rent?" he asked. "I could—" "Don't even suggest it, Lo." Logan sighed. "I have plenty of money," he said. "Even just a couple months' rent until you can find something better." "No." They'd had this argument many times before, but Logan still felt compelled to argue. "I am aware you ascribe to a more individualistic dogma when it comes to finances, but depending on other members of one's social group when in need is nothing to be ashamed of. It is theorized to be one of the main reasons for the development of human culture in and of itself, and doing such favors is a benefit both to receiver and provider. If we consider Kantian ethics—" He trailed off as Virgil placed a finger over his lips. "You talk a lot sometimes," he said. "Sorry," Logan said from behind the finger. "Don't be," Virgil said warmly. "I like it when you talk." That sentence sent warmth spreading through his chest, but he still said, "You just placed your finger over my mouth to stop me from talking." Virgil snorted. "That's because you were about to go into a rant on philosophy, and I'm too mentally and emotionally drained to remember my own name, let alone engage with that right now." "You should quit," Logan repeated. "I don't like seeing you so tired." Virgil ignored that completely. "Talk about something else?" he requested softly. Logan wanted to continue to argue, but it just seemed cruel with how exhausted he seemed to be. "What would you like me to speak about?" "Anything where I don't have to think too hard," Virgil said. "Tell me about your rocks." "Very well," Logan replied. "I was actually called in to consult on some samples a couple of days ago, and—" He spoke for a very long time, and Virgil listened, his breath puffing against Logan's ear. Logan expected him to fall asleep at any moment, but instead he suddenly sat up slightly and leaned his forearms against Logan's chest to stare at him intently. Logan trailed off at the look in Virgil's eyes. He'd compare it to molten lava trying to break through the Earth's crust. "What?" he asked. "Can I kiss you, Logan?" Virgil asked. Logan blinked at him. A knee-jerk no almost passed through his lips. In fact, there was almost a literal knee-jerk straight into Virgil's gut at the suggestion of anything of the sort, but this was Virgil asking. It was Virgil, who was warm and pliant against him, and who had bothered to ask instead of just moving to do it. Logan had no question as to whether a no from him would be accepted or not. It felt more like Virgil asking if he was still watching something on their small television, or if he could change the channel to something they both liked. He thought if he said no, Virgil would nod or shrug. He might ask if it was okay to stay on top of him, but when Logan would say it was fine, he'd remain there as though he'd never asked. Which is why Logan said yes. In the next moment, he was being kissed. It was warm and soft, like everything Virgil had ever offered to him. Logan had the brief thought that they really should have brushed their teeth before mashing their mouths together like this, as he could taste the slightly bitter flavor of coffee on Virgil's lips, and he didn't even want to imagine what the leftover Thai noodles Logan had eaten for dinner tasted like on his. Yet Virgil didn't protest, and neither did Logan. The kiss lingered for a long moment before Virgil drew back. He pressed another, somehow even gentler short kiss to Logan's lips, before drawing back completely and leaning his forehead back against Logan's chest. And that was all it was. Logan wrapped his arms completely around his roommate's middle and squeezed him lightly. Virgil closed his eyes and puffed out a content-sounding noise that made Logan smile. Logan decided in that moment that that had been his first kiss. Virgil shifted around once more briefly before settling in. His breath evened out after only a few seconds. Logan sighed, but he couldn't even muster up an iota of agitation. "Are we sleeping on the couch?" he asked. There was no response, as the other man had already fallen asleep on top of him. "I see." He reached back and managed to turn the lamp next to them off, before pulling the blanket that had been on the back of the couch down and over the both of them. "Good night, Virgil," he said softly. And that's the end of Kisses and Thai Noodle Leftovers by Adriana in the Snow.